Welcome to the interview series by South Asia Research Institute for Minorities. I'm your host, Faiqa Lakho. Today in our interview, we are having amazing personality, Ms. Suraiya Rasheed. Suraiya is the founder of United Muslim Community in the United Kingdom. Along with that, she is working as Managing Director at Diversity Diagnostics. She has done MSc in Occupational Psychology. Her main focus is to eradicate workplace bias and uplifting diversity. Thank you for joining, Ms. Suraiya. So my very first question is that you are the founder of United Muslim Community in UK. What was the exact point in your life where you felt the need of having a safe space for Muslims of United Kingdom?
It's really difficult to pinpoint an exact moment because there were several sort of key factors that led to us starting United Muslim Community. So this is a business that's run by myself and my husband, and the key steps were feeling that there was something more that I could do with my life. So I'd spent the last 15 years in talent management, and I absolutely loved it, but the overwhelming feeling of needing to do more and needing to do more for my own community just was always there within me. And so that just kept growing, and it just got to a point that I couldn't ignore it anymore. And the work that I was doing previously just felt so pointless. And so, it wasn't making a difference to the world. And then on top of that, it was the feeling of, throughout my life living in a country where we're a minority, always feeling different, always feeling like you don't quite belong, and always feeling that there's that level of prejudice, that there's that level of unspoken racism that's sort of covered up in jokes, or in little sly comments here and there, or in the fact that you realize that somebody else is being treated in a more favorable way than you are, and being asked over and over again, why don't you eat meat? And I was like, I do eat meat, but I am a Muslim, so I have to eat halal meat. And it's just these tiny little things that just built up, and knowing that I wasn't the only one that was feeling this way. I just really wanted to create an environment where people could just be themselves and not have to justify themselves in every aspect of their lives all the time. And alhamdulillah, that's what we've now created with UMC.
Very well expressed, Suraiya. So moving towards the next question. Could you briefly walk us through your job and the responsibilities in that role, like how you engage Muslim community in your different programs and what inspired them to come together at one platform?
Of course. So at the moment, we're not at the start of our journey because we've been doing this for the last 12 years, but we are at the start of the next phase of our journey, I'd say, where we are more focused on really building the community in a much bigger way than we had been focused on before. So my main role is to engage with new venues, is to create new engaging events where people can just come together and just have fun and just relax and, not feel that they're missing out. In the UK, the main way of relaxing and chilling out is going to the pub, and obviously we can't do that. So just creating an environment where you're together with like-minded people, and you can have a laugh, but in a halal way. So we put a lot of effort and thought into curating those events, and then obviously the relationship with the venues that we go to. So we have to build really great relationships because we're turning up with 50, 60, 70 Muslims, and that's could seem a little bit strange. So we spend a lot of effort and time building the relationships with the venues that we work with. And then, of course, the last piece of the puzzle is engaging the community, and so that we have attendees, and we do that through social media. So we're on a couple of different event platforms. I don't know if you're aware of Meetup and Eventbrite. They're the key ones that we've started with, but then also all the other social media platforms as well. And so making sure that we're on Instagram and Facebook and everything else to just get the message out there and build awareness that we are there. So that takes up, from the UMC side of things, that takes up a good amount of time.
That's really meaningful, Surya. So, can you tell me, you are also serving as managing director at Diversity Diagnostics? Tell us how you perceive the idea of diversity and inclusion.
Essentially, for me, it is around feeling like you belong. Again, I think for minorities, when you walk into a room and you walk into a new organization and you look around and you see that you're the only person that looks like you, that is a really daunting feeling. And then at every step of the way, you're just reminded of how different you are. So I think there's a long way to go, but that creating that feeling of belonging and also that feeling of safety are two really, really important things that I'm striving for. So safety in terms of being able to be who you are, express who you are, not be afraid to say, hey, it's Friday, I've got to take a slightly longer lunch break because I've got to go and do my Jumu'ah prayers, or actually for the team lunch, I'd really rather not go out drinking this time. Can we go bowling or do something different? And just allowing people to feel that they're in an environment where they can talk about and be themselves and share that part of themselves that we often have to hide away as soon as you walk through the doors of a corporate environment. Sorry, they're the two things. Obviously there's a lot more, but they're the two core elements for me.
Okay, so you have done your MSc in Occupational Psychology. Can you just briefly tell us how that complements the work you are doing currently?
Of course. So with occupational psychology, a lot of my study and work experience to date has been around the talent management piece. So looking at how you identify people that are best fit for an organisation, how you assess them to make sure that they have the correct skills and knowledge to go into that role and perform the best, and then how you onboard them, how you develop them once they're in that role, and then how you develop people throughout the business. So what I've got a really good understanding of is what that process is, but then also what elements of those processes that are currently in place in all organisations are causing a discriminatory effect against anyone with any minority group or any group that, it is not just around ethnic minorities, it's also around any form of diversity, so whether it's disability or whatever. So I've got a really good understanding of how diversity can be improved in every one of those aspects throughout the organisation. So I find that that's really, really helped to train people and drive that knowledge and the awareness of the pitfalls and how to avoid them.
Okay, so can you tell me how your role inspires you to work for a diversified Muslim community in the region where you work?
Yeah, so when we are super inclusive, so we work with every type of individual that there is, every type of Muslim community. So we don't specifically say you have to be from X, Y, and Z background or ethnicity. As long as you class yourself as a Muslim at whatever stage of your journey that you're on, we welcome you. And even we welcome non-Muslims as well, as long as they respect the boundaries of the environment that we are operating in. So, no drinking, and you're respectful to your brothers and your sisters, etc., etc. So we try to be as inclusive as possible. And alhamdulillah, again, we have a really great diverse group of individuals that come, and it's so nice to see all different backgrounds all interacting together and learning from each other, and getting to know each other and becoming friends and playing games. It's really fun.
You are doing such an amazing job. So my next question is, as one of your prime focus is to eradicate workplace bias, can you give any example of workplace bias against working Muslims at corporate level? Like how you make sure to eradicate the bias when there is a lot of hatred for Muslims in the region?
You're right. I mean, it's a really complicated thing, and it's a very ambitious thing to be, sort of say that I want to eradicate bias, because in all honesty, there is so much bias out there. There are hundreds of different types of bias, and they impact every aspect of an individual's working life. So the key point is to increase awareness of all of those different types of impact that individuals have, but that they can't necessarily talk about and can't say, okay, I felt a certain way about this conversation that happened, or this experience that happened at work. And I find, as I've written in a recent post on LinkedIn, that for me, it's more of a death by 1,000 cuts situation, because there are so many small instances of bias that occur for us. It's actually quite difficult to articulate as it's happening, and even after it's happened, you feel almost stupid that you allowed it to happen, or that why didn't I raise it at the time? But it comes back to the psychological safety pieces, that when you're in that situation, you feel that you can't. So for a couple of examples are, even as simple as writing our name on top of a CV and submitting that for a job application. There's research that shows how much bias occurs in that situation, and depending on the name that you have on top of your CV, whether you will even get to the next stage, regardless of what your qualifications are. You could have the exact same qualifications, if not even more qualified than somebody with an Anglo-Saxon name, but you will always get biased, you'll always be biased against. So it's little things like that. It's little things like understanding that we're coming at it from a different place. So, you can't look at candidates on a like for like basis. You can't look at individuals going for a promotion on a like for like basis, because we're not all the same, because our backgrounds have not all been the same. Our educational opportunities have not all been the same. Our networks are not the same. Our exposure to the corporate world and the way our lived experiences are not the same. So we really have to drive for more of an individualized experience of talent management, I feel, in order to overcome these experiences that me and a lot of others, and again, by running UMC, what I'm able to do is have those conversations with hundreds and hundreds of other fellow Muslims who are in the same situation, who are experiencing the same thing. So I know it's not just unique to me in the industry that I was in and the type of role that I was doing. So there's a lot. There's a lot at every stage.
Suraiya, you have also worked as a recruiter for little period of time. Can you tell me the observation that how Muslims are impacted in the recruitment process?
It's a lot of what I've already explained, really. So one of the things that we're really pushing for is blind CVs, because there's so much information on a CV that causes bias. So as I was saying, regards to the name, regards to the university that you went to, the situation here, and I'm sure it's the same in lots of locations around the world, there's a lot of bias towards certain universities for certain types of jobs. And, there are so many factors as to why somebody may or may not go to a certain university. So it's ridiculous that, you're only choosing people from a certain location. You're already massively excluding such a huge population for something that really doesn't matter. And so, education based on where an individual lives, that gives a lot away about somebody and about their economic background, about their socioeconomic status. So there's a lot of stuff. And then there's also the thing around our accents and the way that we talk. So I've known people who often get calls from recruiters, and it's very obvious that they're just checking that they can speak clean English. And it's just, all of these things are just so offensive. And even in the interview process, the question of, where are you from? No, really, where are you from? And you're like, okay, I'm from London. Is that not a good enough question, answer to your question? And they're just digging in and asking these questions that they just wouldn't ask a non-minority individual. And so, when you have that as your recruitment experience, and then you from the outside are looking at these massive corporations and you're seeing that they're run by middle-aged, white, wealthy people, men, majority, and you're looking at that and your feeling of, okay, yeah, that's where I belong, it's just not there. It just feels so unobtainable. And so there's issues on both sides of it, both from the organization trying to attract the right kind of people and having an open mind, but also from the minority individuals looking at which organizations they want to target and feeling that they are welcome there and that they can achieve something there. Because if the saying is, if you can see it, you can be it, but if you can't see it, you don't believe that you can be it, right? So there's a lot that needs to be worked on, a lot that needs to be unpicked.
Thank you for sharing very insightful ideas. Besides working for your organization, what are your upcoming projects that you look forward to? Would you mind to share that with us?
So we are at the very early stages of something really, really exciting. So we're looking to hold a huge launch event at the beginning of next year, where it's not a launch event for us, it's more of a launch event for 2022 in terms of, right, new year, new you, new start. So we're looking to pull together a really nice big event with cool speakers, lots of influencers, and just a really nice, engaging, motivational opportunity to really kickstart your year, surrounded by Muslim brothers and sisters. And we're hoping to attract lots of motivational speakers who have made it in, from a Muslim background, whether that's making it in corporate or as an influencer or whatever it might be. But just again, to kind of lead back to that, if you see it, you can, you believe that you can be at peace. So we want people to be able to see that actually, yes, it is possible, and you can do whatever you want to do and be whoever you want to be. So that's super new. Nobody knows about that one yet.
This sounds really interesting. Good luck for your all plans.
Thank you.
So moving towards our next question. Some people who don't know about Muslims and Islam are Islamophobic. They consider Muslims as alien creation and avoid interacting with them. Being a Muslim and the work you are doing, how have you played your part to change this narrative?
Awareness, that is really the only thing that you can do. It's breaking down those barriers and making yourself accessible. So a lot of the work that I'm doing, for example, on LinkedIn, is around breaking down those barriers and raising that awareness in a really accessible and non-threatening way. I think because it is such a charged subject, both a politically charged subject, because anything about Muslims always is, racially charged, and then you have the Black Lives Matter movement. So there's already a lot of kind of feeling of unease and unrest in terms of, we know from the majority communities, we know that something needs to be done, but we don't know what, and they're scared of doing the wrong thing. So I'm trying very hard to tread that line in terms of exposure, increasing awareness, starting the conversation, but not being threatening, and being very accessible in how I do that. Because it is tricky, especially with the constant news that comes out and the constant bad press that we get, it's tricky to navigate.
Oh, that's very right. We have witnessed a lot of hate speeches and hatred for the Muslim community in South Asian region. Being a citizen of UK, do you say that the Muslims of UK face the same thing?
I mean, to some degree. I cannot even, begin to imagine what it's like in your countries. There is a level of it here, but it's not so overt. It's not so in your face. So in that respect, I am extremely thankful that we don't have to face that same level of prejudice. So, yes, there is some here, but by no means the same level as is being faced in India, for example. That's all I was going to say. There's just so much going on around the world, so much persecution, and so much that you guys do a really amazing job of raising awareness of. So much really awful, heartbreaking stuff that's happening. So, on one hand, obviously I'm extremely grateful that I'm not living in that situation, but then on the other hand, it's just very difficult knowing that there are so many brothers and sisters out there that are going through this stuff, and it's just the knowing how we can help them, and beyond raising awareness and kind of bringing people together and trying our best to raise sort of funds for them, or it's a very difficult situation.
In current times, social media is being widely used to spread hatred speeches against the Muslim minority. People do not have filters when they bash someone by crossing all the limits. What, in your opinion, are the protocols that should be adopted by the social media platforms to avoid the hate speech?
I think it's such a difficult thing, because social media is its own beast, it's its own living thing, because there were so many people contributing to it constantly. I think it's extremely difficult to police. I don't think it's impossible, but it is definitely very, very difficult. And so on one hand, yes, the social media organizations need to be doing more to identify and take down. There is definitely more that they need to be doing there, because there's a lot of content that goes very viral, and that is very clear to see, like it's not hard to find, that needs to be taken down as quickly as possible and a lot faster than it is. But then on the other hand, it's also the combating it with positive stuff. So if we pump out as much positive news as they do negative, hopefully we can start to change the narrative. And I just feel, for us at the moment, there isn't enough people who are pumping out that positive news. I think with the Black Lives Matter movement within the Black community, they've done a really great job of bringing together a lot of very vocal people who are really driving and pushing the message and causing positive change. And I think we just need the same in our communities.
Okay, so do you have any insights regarding the operation against Muslim minorities in the region of South Asia? What do you think are the possible measures that should be taken to end this oppressive treatment against Muslim minority? What do you think should be done in the near future to solve the most pressing concerns confronting South Asian Muslim minority?
I wish I had the answer. Honestly, it's such an important and awful thing to watch unfold. I think the only thing is coming together. Social pressure has caused so much positive change in history, and I think it can do the same here if people come together and they just articulate that this, it isn't good enough and we're not putting up with this, but not just on a local level, it has to be on an international level. It has to be there has to be a bigger pressure. But how you go about creating that. And politics is a minefield at best, which I don't pretend to be an expert in, but that's what I would say. International social pressure. The last bit I would say actually is also having a way for individuals to be able to engage. So what I find when the Afghan crisis happened, and we've got a lot of Afghan refugees coming to the UK, and so everyone was sort of in this phase of, we need to do something, but what do we do? And so just thinking it through and making it very easy and breaking it down. So for example, I just raised some money. Originally what I was going to do was collect some clothes and send it to some hospitals, but speaking to the hospitals that were involved, I realized that actually that's not what they needed, and actually what they needed was money so that they could distribute that in the way that they saw fit. So it's finding people who want to help, giving them the knowledge and the information so that they know how to meaningfully help, and then making it really easy to gather whatever it might be, whether it's funds or whether it's support. There has to be individuals that stand up and take that ownership. You can't just sit and wait for somebody else to do it. If you feel strongly enough about it, you have to stand up and do something.
That's for sure. Also, what are your thoughts on increasing religious radicalism and genocide of Muslims in South Asia?
Again, I can't profess to be an expert, other than, it's absolutely appalling, and that, it's a complicated thing, and we need to stand up and change this.
There are many repressive laws enforced in South Asian region. It's a South Asian related question. Targeting minorities. How can these be eradicated and give minorities a safe space to live?
My answer is going to be the same, I'm afraid. So it's, global awareness and social pressure. There is no easy solution. People will not change what they're doing unless they are forced to, unless they're made to. And you can only do that through social pressure and awareness.
Okay, just like previously you said, we should raise our voices at international level. How a regional level organization can play a role to convey their voices to global platforms such as the United Nations and other international organizations?
I mean, building relationships. I think what you guys are doing already in terms of speaking to people all around the world who have a platform, who have their own social media following, who already have a voice, whether it's in academia or whether it's in the press or whatever. I think that is a really positive way of increasing that knowledge and increasing that awareness and increasing that support. The very first step of you being able to make any changes, people need to know who you are and what you're doing. So, I can obviously support with that, and so can other people who are, raising their profile within the community, just to help that awareness so people know. And then just, again, as I said before, think through exactly what is needed and how people can support, and make that super easy to do, make it very visible. So, for example, with with charities that feed the hungry, for example, they might say, okay, if you donate, I don't know, £20, this feeds a family for a week. So it's very easy to see how your contribution is having an impact, a real world impact on people. So it's just making that connection.
As you already know, SARIM is a regional platform which aims to highlight issues of minorities and invite experts to talk on the empirical solutions for bringing peace in the region. We have hosted an international conference back in 2019 with the speakers from all over the world. Would you want to join us in Pakistan for our next gathering if the global pandemic situation affords?
I would absolutely love to. I would love to have an opportunity to come back and visit Pakistan and see my family who I haven't seen for years and years and years as well. I've got cousins who I last saw when they were babies, and now they've grown up and going to university. So I would absolutely relish the opportunity to come back to the country, and also to meet people from an international audience who, you know, who are striving towards the same things and who will be so knowledgeable. It would be an honor.
That's so lovely. We'll be very happy to host you here. So towards our second last question. How can you or your organization work collaboratively with SARIM for minimizing the issues of minorities in South Asian and raising the issues at global level?
As I said, it's just, you know, what I can do is just support you in raising awareness. We can, as part of our organization, we can fundraise for you. We can, you know, we can hold events, we can hold talks to increase people's knowledge. We can, you know, if training and news articles and all of that kind of thing, you know, we can put all of that on our platforms so that people are aware. That's probably the one simplest thing that I can do as an individual to support right now. The quick win.
Hoping for a lasting collaboration between us. So at the end of the interview, what message will you give to the Muslims who feel marginalized and face discrimination on daily basis? How you think they can change this hate narrative and find peace in the world?
I think it differs a lot depending on where you are. So, you know, we are in a very privileged position here in the UK where we have choices, and you know, we can exercise those choices in terms of where we live and where we work and who we interact with, and you know, the people that we have around us on a day-to-day basis. So you can, if you're feeling marginalized and you're feeling like you don't belong and you're feeling like you're not you know, you're not respected at work, for example, you have the choices to change that. You can move where you work, you can work for yourself, you can surround yourself, you can go out there and seek your community in a safe environment, and you can improve things. I think that one of the key things is just when you're in the day-to-day grind, you feel very stuck and you feel locked into the life the situation that you happen to be in. But you know, you don't have to be, and you know, you have choices, and sometimes that's really hard to see. I think for the other global communities that don't have the same choices that we have here, I think you have to find strength in your own community and in coming together. I think that's, you know, wherever your people are and however that might look, seek them out and find people who have the same beliefs as you, not just about religious beliefs, but also about social beliefs and political beliefs about how the world should be and could be. And then, you know, it comes down to strength in numbers. Nothing will change unless something changes, unless people make that change. So whatever little way you can make that change, you can impact that change, just do it. There's nothing else. You know, you have to, and your capacity might be different. You might not be able to, you know, leave your full-time job and kind of start a Muslim community like I was able to do, but whatever small way that you can support other people within your community, it will come back to you, you know, a million times over, in terms of the benefit of watching other people feel more connected and, you know, not feel the same way that you feel. Sorry, that wasn't a very concise answer, but be the change is essentially what I'm saying.
Thank you very much, Suraiya, for very insightful conversation. It was lovely having you with us. wish you best of luck for your future projects.
Thank you so much. It was lovely speaking to you as well. Take care.